We are ready.
All right, very good. Well, welcome to the library board meeting, February 16th, 2021. Let's call the meeting to order. It is 5:05 p.m. Will you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Was that it?
We got it.
Robin.
Yeah, it's like a round.
Wow.
We paused and waited to try to get in sync with all of you at home. It was a little rough.
Wow.
All right. Can we have roll call, please?
Yes, just one moment, please. All right. Roll call. Gonna start with the folks that are in building. Aaron.
Here.
Tracy.
Here.
Nancy.
Here.
All right, and then we have Gail.
Here.
All right, Barb.
Here.
Michelle.
Here.
Camille.
Here.
Tony.
Here.
Alderman Wolf.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Let's see, public comment. Not seeing anyone from the general public this evening.
Well, I think we have to do the statement of public notice.
Yes, we do. Thank you. That's important. Statement of public notice, please.
This meeting was noticed in accordance with the open meeting law.
Thank you. Public comment. No one here from the general public this evening. Let's move into consent agenda. We have 2 items on that agenda. The first one being the approval of minutes from the January 19th, 2021 meeting. And then to place on file the library financial reports for the month of January 2021. At this time, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda, please.
So moved.
Tracy, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Nancy, thank you. Discussion. Any discussion, questions, or concerns on the consent agenda this evening? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Motion carries. Consent agenda is approved. Sounds like unanimously. Thank you. President's report. I have no report this evening, so we'll move right into the director's report. Brittany.
I will just highlight, it's all there to read. I will highlight that we are continuing to train some of our new employees, so dedicated to that onboarding. We are hiring to replace a staff member who is resigning due to relocation. So just to emphasize, she loves us, but she has to move. So.
Is it somewhere warm? Is she going somewhere warm?
Minnesota. So.
No.
It may be worse, actually.
Out of the stove into the fire.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The next library board meeting is March 16th. The Friends of the Library raised $400 in the month of January, thanks in part to those DVD sales. So that's.
And I see now they're selling them for $1.
They are, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Wow.
that is exciting for them. Library Legislative Day is happening currently, and so that is myself meeting with our state senators and representatives for the area to talk about library services and library system funding. So I had my first meeting today, and those will continue throughout the week. So that's great. Great outreach.
Does that involve any other staff members? Or is it just you?
No staff members, but other library directors from
Yes, I get
around.
that,
I
yeah.
could invite other staff members to participate.
But then you'd be taking them away from.
That is also true. It's really fun though to talk with them.
what kinds of things do they ask in general, or what are you there to talk about?
Yeah, no, good question. So in a general year, the questions usually range from, what kind of services are you providing for your patrons? What kind of needs do your community members have? A lot of times it's just a platform for us to sort of emphasize what we feel are really important things. So we talk about workforce development, we talk about technology access, we talk about our materials. And then it's also a time, because usually what we're talking about is not the local funding, right? Because that's a local municipality thing. It's more about state system funding. So we get money from our funneled from the state to the system, and then that does help improve our local libraries. So for instance, Help Now and Hoopla were funded by system funds. And so, of course, we wouldn't be able to offer that without the support from the system. And so it's just speaking with the representatives to tell them the value that brings to our community. So.
Great, thank you.
Those are the big things that I have for my report.
Brittany, can I ask a question?
Yes, Tracy has a question.
So, online, you always advertise like they have those tutors or help.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
How booked are they? Just curious.
I would say that, we get our monthly statistics, and the online or the virtual tutors aren't being heavily used in our area. The adult education, and I can try to, I'll bring those stats next month because I do think they're interesting. Someone or a group of people are more interested in our community using the adult education, so people who already have their GED, who are working towards certifications or other development. So that's sort of where we've noticed the highest use so far. I'll admit that I across the board, I was expecting more people to
I think it's
dive into
not
it.
enough people know about it. I think that's part of, because I'm seeing my friends advertising like where to go for tutoring. I'm like,
Yeah.
but you can go to the library for free.
Yeah.
Why are you? I don't
They just
know.
don't
So
know.
they don't know. So I keep sharing it out.
Yeah.
And then my other question was about the ancestry thing. It's till
Yeah.
March. Is there a reason why we had a cutoff for that?
So the ancestry. So first, thank you. So I'm gonna help. I'm gonna make a note. Help Now. What else can we do? And we did advertise it to the schools, but I'm gonna follow up with
Yeah,
them.
it wasn't in the city newsletter though.
Help Now wasn't in the city
I
newsletter.
don't think so.
I could have sworn we wanted to emphasize that again. Did we only do Hoopla?
Hoopla was in there.
Hoopla was in there.
Yeah.
Maybe we. Let me check. I know we intended to do that again. If that got missed, either way, we'll redouble our efforts. It's
Because you have a lot of stuff with the city newsletter.
yes.
There's a lot of library stuff, so that's
Yeah.
nice to see.
Yeah, but I must have missed that one. Okay, so Help Now, but then your second question.
Ancestry.
Ancestry, right. So that Ancestry's ability to be viewed from home is actually not directed by us. It's due to the benevolence of the company.
Oh.
So the way that the licensing works is that people have to come to the library to view it, but they realized that was more problematic for certain individuals, especially early on. So Ancestry flipped a switch and allowed people to be able to access it from home, and they just keep extending it. And I don't know, and I can check and see if they're going to continue to extend it a little bit or not.
I just was curious why there was a deadline or
Yeah.
an end date.
Yeah, it's
Because
just
I would think it would be something people would use. I don't know.
yeah, and it's the company. Now, what I could do is ask. I mean, clearly, if there's the ability to look it from home, maybe it's just that we only buy the license that is for library on site. So I could ask what the cost is to have it from home, because Consumer Reports is one of those big things where I think it used to be you had to come on site, but now people can view it from home, and that's one of our very popular resources. So I'll check in with the system and see what they've heard.
If people do it from home, are we still charged? Is the library still charged?
So Ancestry is a flat fee. So regardless, we have not had to pay any extra for that.
Okay. All right.
Is the answer to that. Yeah, that's a good question. Let's see what they've got on that. So. Oh. Anything else that I can answer in my report?
All right, very good. All done with the report then? Very good. Moving along in the agenda then. Unfinished business, not seeing any unfinished business on the agenda, but we do have several new business items this evening. Let's move into the
And
first.
chili.
What's that?
And chili?
I think Camille was.
Oh, I'm sorry. Not
I
dinner. I'm sorry.
thought you were bringing us all chili.
Yeah, are you going to serve me chili or?
Chili is not on the agenda, so we cannot discuss it.
I apologize. I didn't realize that microphone worked that good.
That's funny. All right. So moving along then, new business. First item, discussion and possible action. It looks like 2020 state annual report approval, Brittany.
All right. So let me tell you, the annual report was super fun this year. Super de-duper fun because they added a ton of new questions to sort of capture how libraries served communities during COVID. And so questions that used to be 30 seconds became 3 hours. So I was going to say I'm not complaining, but it sounds like I am complaining. So we should probably just lean into it. So anyway, there's a lot of new questions here. What I was hoping to do is just give a little PowerPoint. Can you all see this PowerPoint at home virtually?
Yes, I can see it.
Thank you. Wonderful. Okay. So this little slideshow, the couple of slides are going to sort of very high level articulate what I thought were some of the interesting things that came out of the report. And then I'll just go into the sort of the nitty gritty without covering every little module. So the year, the annual report, the year of 2020 was a year of firsts for so many, for all of us, and the library was no exception. So it was the first time we offered curbside service. Had about 3,624 in 2020. That number is going to look a little different than our annual report number because the state was only asking for how many curbsides we delivered when we were fully virtual or our doors were closed. So just know that our actual curbside number for 2020 was higher. Also new was the addition of our Hoopla streaming service. And so that was new. And then the addition of Help Now, virtual tutoring and adult education, and chess instruction. So if you're looking to learn how to play chess, they have instructors for that. So year of firsts in that way. And the addition of Hoopla, the addition of Help Now, that is all integrated into this annual report. Not necessarily in obvious ways, but they'll ask about electronic materials added due to COVID. And so that's where you're going to see Hoopla and Help Now indicated. Curbside, like I said, that number, our actual number doesn't quite match because they were only looking for curbside during certain time periods. Additionally, a year of firsts, we had hundreds of library programs for thousands of viewers virtually. And that was the first time we ever did a virtual library program before. And so that was, if you took a gander, you would have seen on page 22 our program statistics, and the state had us break it down between in-person, virtual live, virtual recorded, pre-recorded, all that kind of stuff. And so you can see all those numbers there. But I really commend the staff from going from 0 to 60 on this, right? From never having done a virtual program before to that many was really impressive. So that was a first. Take and make crafts and experiments. That was something that we'd never done before, and that has proven to be rather popular as well for all ages. And of course, even though I wish I could, I can't show it to you, but it's on my phone. We're in the final stages of our mobile app development. So the ability to just show your phone to us and us scan the phone to check out items to you, notifications about library programs, all that is coming soon. And so that is, amidst everything else, a very exciting move. It was also a year of expansion. So interest in our ebooks and streaming films and e-audiobooks certainly expanded during this past year. and those usage numbers are reflected. We had a drive-up shredding event for the first time. We've had library events before. We've had events in our parking lot before, but this was the first time that we had an event that was drive-through like this. The need for our public computers, Wi-Fi, and staff technical support increased. One of the things that I thought was interesting, if you considered our year-end numbers, our technical support in September through December, each of those months, we actually had more technical questions than we had the previous year. And given that we don't necessarily have the same patron traffic coming through, the fact that those that are coming just have this increased need to ask us questions. I was just helping a gentleman the other day. He came in and he said, I need reimbursement from my business. I work for a manufacturing firm, but I don't know what to do. I have this document. I need to email it to him. He said, but I don't know how to access the computer. I don't know how to make a scan. And so the ability for us to be able to help him scan it, he didn't have a flash drive, and we have flash drives that we hand out to people as sort of giveaways with our brand on it, and we sort of keep those for people who are like job searching and they don't have a place to save their resume, things like that. And so we were able to connect him not only with the ability to scan, but with a flash drive for future use, business use. And then we were able to help him attach the document and send that on to his employer. But one of the things that I told the state senator aide today, and also my staff, is if not us, then who? These types of technical questions, you might be able to go to workforce development and get some technical training, but libraries are open much longer than a lot of those areas as well. So this need for public computers, for Wi-Fi, for the ability of a staff member who is willing to sit and listen to that question and try to answer it, that is huge, and we've seen that this year. In a lot of different ways. So we once had a lawyer come and needed to do a job interview. They needed access to a laptop so they could do Zoom. We actually let them in the building a little early because we didn't want them to have to rush. I mean, if anyone's ever interviewed for a job, that stress of, wanting to make sure that you're there and set on time. So it's been really interesting to watch the importance with which our computers and technology and our staff expertise is needed. Engagement with our deposit collections to senior living communities expanded. We've moved into the Heritage now, and that is going well. So it was a year of expansion. And something that I emphasized with our state senator aide today, and something that I like to emphasize to everyone, is that our services never stopped. Our phone was always answered. We were always checking our email. We were always answering technical and research questions. Services had to be re-envisioned at times, right? For a while we were only doing curbside. We opened as soon as we could, but patrons never stopped using the library. They may have had to use it differently for a little bit, and maybe are still in some ways using it differently, but our services never stopped. So I don't use the phrase "the library closed" because we didn't. We just had to change, our service profile for a bit. So that, is just a little general look at our year in review. And then the dry numbers of it all are in here. So the state asked for our hours based on when we were staff only versus limited service versus standards. So that was all outlined for them on page 17. They asked a lot of COVID-related questions on 18 and 19 about our response, so you can see my answers there. And I'm just going to see if there's anything else unique to this report. I already called out on page 22 the program tracking that they had. I would definitely say that our library was on the high end in terms of what we offered to our patrons. And in fact, our attendee views were so high that the system director called me and asked me to verify the number, because she said it seemed so outrageously high, and it was. I mean, Abby was one of our leaders. Like in March when things were a little hairy, she was one of the first people to start doing virtual story times. She was getting contacted from other libraries across the state. How do we do this? How do we launch it? So
And she was good.
Wow.
and she was great.
Good. Is,
She
I
is.
shouldn't say was. She's
Yep.
good.
So that is why those numbers seem high, and I made sure to make a note of why they were so high because like I said, it stood out to our system director. So kudos again to all the staff that did and are doing those programs. You'll see your names here as
On
governance.
page 23, my address is different than
Oh,
what you have here.
well, that's fun. Did I just randomly put you in a
No,
place?
that's a former address, and maybe maybe the city gave you. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I will have to update that. Maybe Nancy, you can provide that address. Maybe you can just write it down on there so that I can update that. Thank you for that note. Let's see here.
Now, Brittany, are you looking for a motion to approve and then discussion, or do you want us to ask questions now? Or make comments?
Whatever way you feel. Those were my big highlights for it. So I guess a motion to approve would be helpful, and then any other further discussion.
Sure. Yes.
Okay. I'll make that motion to approve the annual report.
Great.
I will second.
Is that Camille second?
Oh, yeah, hold, yeah, I'm sorry. So Gail was the first, Camille was the second. Thank you.
All right. Discussion.
Is page 26 all a part of this report?
Page 26 is, yes, part of that
Well,
report.
then I just have a question. It's right at the bottom. You say library aid,
Mhm.
singular. Certainly the library aid doesn't make more than the director.
Oh,
So is it aides?
You know, that is the plural. Both for shelver and aid, I just listed the position in the singular.
Okay.
I suppose I could change it to plural if you think that
Well,
would.
I just was a little shocked that
Yeah.
one library aide makes more than our director.
Yeah, no, it's the combination
Okay,
of
okay.
a variety of part-time
Okay.
positions. That's a good
Okay.
question, though.
Thank you.
Okay, Brittany, it's Gail. Got
Yes.
a couple of things.
Yep.
One is just a small thing. On page 17, Roman numeral 1, general information, sub 10. You have the library phone number, the area code in parentheses, does not have parentheses, but the fax number does. So just for consistency, I just thought I'd point that out to you.
Sure. Yep.
Okay. On page 24, Roman numeral 5, sub 2. I'm wondering why Racine County spends so much more money with us than any of the other counties. I mean, an extraordinarily large amount of money compared to the others.
Yeah, they are. When we talk about who's using our library, it's not just Muskego residents. So anyone can get a library card with us in the state of Wisconsin, and so. Based on, first of all, we have a great collection, but second of all, we have great programs, right? And our children's programming has really, in particular, caught the interest of a lot of different families in the area. And so what we have found is that we do get a lot of people coming from Racine and from Milwaukee and here to attend the programs, and then they like to check out the materials as well. And so the system tracks that in order to make sure that we're compensated for people outside of the municipality using the library services.
Sure.
And so, yeah,
I understand. It's just Racine's number is so huge, and then Milwaukee County isn't mentioned here, I guess. So I just wanted to make sure that wasn't a typo. I mean, it's just so extraordinarily large, and maybe that's Wind Lake and everything too, because technically they're in Racine County. So I don't know if that, but it just jumped out at me as and nothing froze up, which makes sense, but no Milwaukee County in here. Then, if you in fact are giving services to them, shouldn't they be listed?
Well, so Wind Lake, we do have lots of Wind Lake users coming to our library. For Milwaukee, I do not believe we, as a system, have an agreement with Milwaukee County for that type of reciprocity.
Okay.
So.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
That makes sense. And then, so I just was pointing it out. Obviously, it's not a typo. It just seems kind of jumping out here. On page 30, just a couple of questions about the comments, just because I'm curious. Where you have under section 1, and then it drops down to offering delivery of materials, mail or drop off. It says you mailed tax documents for those without computer printer access.
Yep.
I didn't know we were doing that, so I'm just out of curiosity. Could you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, that was not a frequent thing. I added a generous amount of comments because I really wanted to make sure we were tracking every little thing that we did. I think we only did that mail of tax documents a couple of times, so it was not a significant push.
Oh, it's not something we do on a regular.
No, and it was when we were when our building was not people weren't able to come in and print things off, and so I felt obligated to print and get it to them because they needed to get their taxes done. So, but yeah, it's not a common thing.
I think it's a wonderful thing.
Oh,
And then the other comment. I'm sorry, did I interrupt you?
no, Nancy was just saying how wonderful we are.
That we are. And then at the bottom of that section, prior to section 2, I didn't realize that the staff was asked by City Hall to work as poll workers, but they did not, correct?
Yes, they did. They the library staff we worked
I thought they did not.
we worked
I
the
thought you did like an service or something that day.
on November 3rd. They didn't need.
Oh, that was November.
But
Okay.
and the April 7th election and the August 11th election, we worked as poll workers, and I learned a lot. It
I
was
see now.
really
You want
interesting.
absentee ballots for November. Okay.
Yeah, it was
All right,
very
thank
interesting.
you. That's all I have.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Number of registered users. So residents, there's 11,559. Is that correct? I mean, just off the top of your head.
Where are you?
So
Page 5, library services. Is that how many people have library cards?
So that number is currently the number of users we have who have library cards, but I need to do a purge of our system. We're a little late in doing that this year due to a variety of reasons, but I have that number. I would have done it a few months ago, but I didn't have time.
That's
to
okay.
do it.
I just want to, I'm just looking at, and then you got 2,200 non-resident, whatever. What I'm looking at is that there's 25,000 people in Muskego now.
Yep.
And with the new residents coming in, there's a list available. Christine sends it out.
Yep.
At City Hall. So I don't know if you want to do like a welcome campaign to the new residents coming in, send them a letter inviting them to join the library or something.
What we do is we do get that list from Christine, and then we send out a letter welcoming people and inviting them to come into the library. I need to make sure that hasn't slipped off of our brain radar, but up until a few months ago, I know we were doing it. So I'll double check and make sure that people haven't forgotten to do that. But so let me write that down. But I have
no big deal. I was just thinking that with the growth we've had with people in the city over the last couple of years, and we're adding about 375 homes a year. So and then people buying and selling them. The market's been really good, so you have a lot of new residents in the area. So
yeah, it's been really exciting. We've seen quite a few new residents coming in lately with to get library cards, so that's exciting.
And I hope for their children as well. I remember when my children were small, they were so excited to have their own library cards. Oh.
Yeah, and we do encourage patrons to sign up their children as well. One of the benefits of a child's card is that children's items on a child's card, there are no overdue fines. There are replacement fees. So if a child chews it up and spills chocolate milk on it, then they have to pay. But we're trying to start them off on a really positive relationship with the library. And so children's items on a children's card do not accrue overdue fines. So we do encourage.
But adult items do, dang.
Yep, yeah. We have had people try to think around that, but James Patterson will get a ride.
I may or may not be perpetually late sometimes, and okay, now I know.
It's okay. We
Can't
all
skirt around it. Gotta pay my dues. I always do.
we all have those library fines, myself included. So, okay. Any other questions about the report? So far, I have to update Nancy's address and the documentation, or not the document, the formatting of the phone number on the first page. One of the things I do want to call out is that at the end, there is, page 29, is a question that it's a statement of concerning public library system effectiveness. And according to Wisconsin statute, you all as the Board of Trustees are going to state that the Bridges library system did or did not provide effective leadership and adequately meet the needs of the library. I took the liberty of writing up a summary of my perception of how they've done for hopefully you all to agree to. So I wrote it down there that the Muskego Public Library Board continues to appreciate the professionalism, library system staff, subject matter expertise, and efforts the Bridges system imparts to bring innovation and equity to library services in our community. Through a commitment to training, cooperative purchasing power, strategic planning, and a unifying vision, the Bridges staff, under the leadership of Carol Kennedy, remind us this year more than ever of the true value of belonging to our library system. So, just wanted to call that out because they really were game changers this year in supporting all the libraries in our system. So.
Right. Well, if nothing else, there is a motion on the table to approve this. Of course, we'll note that there are some small formatting corrections to be made. All those in favor of approving this report, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Are there any opposed? Any abstentions? Well, very good. This 2020 State Annual Report is approved. We'll get those corrections made up, of course. And I am more than happy to place my presidential signature and seal on this document. Well done.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we move on, you can take off your list. It was in the newsletter.
Oh, good.
Okay.
All right.
Just since we're still in the director's report.
Yeah. Thank you. Good to know.
All right, very good. Well, moving along then on the agenda, it looks like discussion, possible action regarding contract approval for ACS boiler service agreement. Brittany.
All right, so City Hall Maintenance is recommending installing a closed-loop treatment system. And, at the risk of reading this entire thing verbatim, it enhances the longevity and performance of the library's boiler hot water system. And the contract's been reviewed by the city attorney. The company is recommended because this is the same company and system that's used at City Hall. So in order to achieve continuity, we don't want to, they've already vetted the company and gone through that process. It's just us also wanting to treat our boiler the same way. And there is a current need. Again, I talked with maintenance. There is corrosion in the water, so the closed loop treatment system will help with that. So,
How old is the boiler?
ooh,
How old
good
is the
question.
building?
I was going to say, I believe the boiler is original to the building, so that would be 20 years and 1.5 months.
10 years and 1.5 months. And so I got to ask the question. Does it make sense to, I don't know how long this contract is in force. Is it 1 year? Yes, 2 years.
It's
2 years.
2 years. Yep.
And I don't even want to ask the question because then things happen. But what is the typical length of time that a boiler is effective? Do you have any idea?
I do not for a commercial boiler such as this, but when I spoke with maintenance, George said that, it was important to maintain the longevity of it. I did
Of
not.
course.
He is really good about sort of saying it's not worth putting money into this versus
Okay.
that. So
Great.
I know that he believes that there's value in maintaining the boiler versus talking about replacing it. So
Okay, because, and forgive me, I don't remember what I read here, but is there an out clause in case we would have to buy a new boiler, and is this the company we buy it from?
they don't sell boilers; they just do the treatment for the systems. And I think that the out clause.
I would think that the attorney looked it over. I would bet that if we had to replace it, they would install a new, if that was still good, move it over or install a new one. Or,
And then just put it over on the new one.
Yeah.
So Google
Yeah,
says 15
yes.
to 30 years
15 to 30 years, says
Yes.
Google, for a commercial boiler.
for a commercial boiler.
About 50
Okay.
years, okay.
15 to 30.
15 to 30.
Not-
So,
Would that
Just
have,
curious.
would that have
That,
to
you
come out
know,
of the library
Murphy's
budget?
Law.
yeah,
How many years was it?
15 to 30.
15 to 30, which is a pretty long
Oh.
range. So it just depends on.
But it does say a but.
Oh, there's a but,
But as they get older, they become increasingly ineffective.
Yeah.
Sure.
which is
Very
why
efficient.
we want
And more expensive.
to stop the corrosion while we can. Nancy, you had a question about
I
whether.
forgot it.
Oh no, you said asked would it come out of the library's budget?
Yes,
So
thank you.
yeah, given that I guess that a library commercial boiler would cost more than $5,000. I'm guessing we would build that in as a capital project,
Okay,
unless it kaplunked on us in the middle of a year, and then that would probably be an emergency project where Alderman Wolf, I'd come running to the council going, help me.
Help me!
And a commercial boiler
Gotta have the heat on.
installation is between $8,500 to $10,000.
That's actually not as bad as I would have thought.
No, 85 to
That's-
10.
10 grand.
And thinking about that note, whatever came about with the roof with the last meeting, we had the issues with the roof.
Yeah.
Whatever came about with that once they went up there.
Yeah, so they were able to nail down the shingles in the places where the shingles had ripped up, so there have been no further leaks in that area. So.
However, when 99 inches of
That's
snow.
great.
Right. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Hopefully it was a fluke thing, because obviously this roof needs to handle the snow for a little
Yeah.
bit longer. But
And it's just, the reason I brought it up is that this water looked so nasty.
I
And I don't
know.
know what it's supposed to look like, so, it's beyond hope. And I will, of course, defer to you and George as far as what is this ultimate result supposed to be? Is it supposed to be clear?
Yeah,
Well, it says
so
on there, it'll bleed the line out, so I'm assuming they'll get all,
Yeah, but it'll all come out because it's nasty.
I mean,
Yeah.
how pure will it be? But
Yeah, exactly.
and to emphasize, because I freaked out when I saw it because it's black and it's
Yes.
water. But obviously, when
Yeah.
people turn on their pipes here to wash their hands and to drink from the bubbler, they're not seeing black water. I would have let you know about that. So
Mhm.
it's right now. It's just a matter of it's still a closed loop system, but they want to treat the closed loop system in order to prevent the corrosion. So we're seeing water that's still being contained. We're not drinking that rust, or at least at levels that would be dangerous. But we want to maintain the closed loop system, so that's why they're recommending them.
Is this kind of, and I hate to use this word, self-liquidating, bad pun here, but where once we do this, will it save us money? Will the boiler also be more efficient? Forgive me for not remembering what I read a few days ago.
No, that's okay. So
Is it?
According to the company, now of course companies will say things, but George believed this to be true as well. That the removal of metal-based scale can show fuel savings. So
well, here it says on that last page by the water there's a statute. Increase fuel expenditures 10 to 20%. So if you clean it, you can save. You won't go up.
Yeah, so it's actually a self-liquidating agreement. I mean, ultimately, because we'll save money.
And
Spend money to save money.
the company did warn me that this wouldn't be an immediate show of savings. Like if we input it the next month, we wouldn't automatically see that.
No, understood, but overall, okay, all right.
Yeah, it will extend the life of the system, no doubt.
And that as well, so that's a money savings too.
Absolutely. Okay. Should we bring this to discussion and should we just,
Yeah, so basically I'm looking for a motion to enter into this contract agreement, for me to enter into the contract agreement with this company.
I'll motion. Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
is there a second on that?
I'll second.
Nancy seconds, thank you. And now, any further discussion?
No, probably should have done the motion first, we gotta get in the habit of doing that,
I know.
so, but anyway.
All right. Hearing no other discussion, all those in favor of approving this contract, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I have one last question though. Do we have a timeline on this?
The goal was, I told the company that I needed approval from the board, and so I told them I would contact them the next day for installation in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
March 1st.
Or
Where do
March
you
1st.
see, where do you see that? Tracy?
Beginning page. It's on page 32 at the top.
Okay, I missed that. Yep, thank you.
All right. All right, that contract, the motion is approved unanimously. Very good. Does that answer your question? Are we good to go with that, Nancy? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, moving along then, under new business, discussion, possible action, continuance of library board mask mandate. Brittany.
All right, so I have some setup information, but in deference to Gail's point, should we put a motion first before I start chattering? Is that the?
It depends on what you're asking us to do.
Well, shall I chatter first before we all discuss then? Is
Well, yeah, usually are you
Well,
asking?
hang on a second, we're reviewing, this is a
Right.
review, so I don't think there's needs
we
to be
don't
a
really
vote
need
unless we want to put it into, is this in act right now? Is this what's going on now?
Yeah.
So we don't have to do anything now, we're just gonna review it?
What does the agenda say here?
Well,
But this
so
review of library board mask policy, so
the
I don't
city,
see any action.
the city attorney.
Unless we want to take action.
The city attorney did recommend we add one line to it, so.
That in red or what?
I have it in an email that he sent me, so I'll have to verbalize it to you. What is in the document is the existing, and then I was going to mention something that the city attorney told me to add or recommended that I add, so I wanted to mention that. So.
In the future, if you want to do that, it'd be, you can put it in like number 5, or if it's under number 4 or something, just you cross out what's different with a red line and then add in what's new in red.
Yeah.
And then we can take it as a motion then.
Yeah, I should have done that. Apologies.
Oh, that's okay. It's not a big deal. We can add it in anyway, but I'm just thinking to save time and understand where we're at, because this is just a review.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's
we
good.
can always take action. So.
I would agree. So are you saying, Rob, though, next month we vote on it, on the mask mandate?
Oh, we can listen to what she has to say, and if we want to take it to a motion, we can make a motion to add that in and make it the new policy.
Yeah, because the agenda does say action. It just isn't specified what the action would have been, but I think we're fine because it says action.
Sure.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Okay. So. All right. So I'll give some background. So at the November meeting, the board voted to in favor of placing an independent mask policy in effect in the event that the state mask mandate ended. And then you all asked to review this decision periodically in the event that it became activated. I would say that the state mask mandate it's lacking clarity, right? There's been some back and forth, and so it was helpful for the library staff and myself to cite the library board's mask policy, just in case anyone had questions about the current status of the state mandate. So my recommendation is that, so you had all asked that if it went into effect that I would bring it back before the board, just to make sure that it's still necessary. And so here I am doing that. And since we would be in the process of reviewing it, I just talked to the city attorney and said, the page 38, I said, basically what we agreed was that it would just be the same as the state mandates expectations, but that the board would support it. And he had recommended adding a line saying that, according to the CDC, masks are an effective barrier that reduces the transmission of COVID. Basically, a line that says why the masks are expected. So, if I could just show you. So I listed the reasoning down, the most current information from the CDC, the WHO about when to wear when you're in an indoor public setting. And so I listed those out. The CDC recommends masks for both those that are sick and for protection, so not just one or the other. I did some traffic numbers, and our average traffic is about 300 patrons each day. So we're definitely a well-trafficked public building. And like I mentioned before, we have patrons coming from multiple communities, from Milwaukee, Racine, Waukesha, and so that's the masks are an effective safety measure for them, according to the CDC and WHO. And then for staff, I've been working a lot of extra shifts at the desk, not only because just of staffing needs at the moment, but also just to sort of get a sense of how things are going. And we really aren't able to remain 6 feet apart from patrons while serving their needs. I sort of listed some of those duties, but that patron I was talking about, who I was helping with the technology and the scanning of the document and accessing his email, we really have to be closer than 6 feet in order to provide that type of service. And so we're open 58 hours a week, and so that, we're not in and out. We're here all day, and a lot of the patrons are here all day too. So it is helpful for us to have this safety measure in effect, and I cited those sources at the bottom of the page. For those of you who like APA style, forgive the lack of indentation on the second line. I could not figure out the formatting. But so that was sort of my general synopsis based on what the current public health folks are saying. And then I just did a little bit more research because, of course, I always want to make sure if we're asking people to do something that it is the most... Whoops, didn't want to do that. Let's see here. Slideshow. Just 1 second. Okay, so I further looked, aside from the WHO and CDC, I looked at Waukesha County and, at a more local level, and they are still recommending face coverings for workers who frequently come into close contact with other people, like stores and restaurants. Bridges libraries are requiring masks in this area, and 13 of the 24 libraries have their own board mask policy in addition to
CDC's.
the state's operations. The libraries in the area, I wanted to look out a bit further. So these are the libraries that are most local to us outside of our system, and so they all currently require masks. I wanted to look at and this is all going into accordance with that emergency public health plan that I showed you guys all in September. Like, this is what I said I would do, that I would look, what are the public health experts saying, and then what is happening locally to sort of get a gauge into our own actions. So Muskego public buildings, Walmart, Walgreens, post office, Aldi, these are all requiring masks still, and the shared traits that these businesses or offices have with us is that their building's open to the public, that there's constant traffic, and that the staff may not always be able to distance while serving, similar to us. There are the groups that are supporting requirement of masks in community settings. This is just an example of them. And you can see some hopeful comments from the side that things are trending the right way. We saw good news about cases going down, hospitalization cases very low, which is all fantastic. But according to the Wisconsin Hospital Association, we want to make sure that we continue to go in that direction. And a doctor from Washington University said that increased mask wearing and wider acceptance of wearing masks has driven the COVID-19 numbers down. And just because, so I've given you a lot of sources, but I love anecdotal evidence too. So these are examples of patrons. I changed their names and a few slight personal identifiers, but these are actual people that I talked to over the past several weeks. I did not ask them, do you want masks or not? I'm not going to ask that question. But these are just observations based on conversations I had while I was helping them. So Vivian broke her wrist. She's age 79. She's waiting for her COVID vaccine. She said she doesn't even grocery shop anymore, but she makes the library her one public stop. And so
She's not eating our books, I hope.
You know what? We have gotten books with teeth marks in them. Most of them are dogs, but some of them are children. The point here is that I have actually had a lot of comments from patrons like Vivian who say that the library is the one public place that they still go to regularly.
Feel safe, yeah.
And so I do think that there's an obligation that we have to make sure that we're providing an environment that is as safe as it can be.
In response to that, what you just said then, your email said there's been COVID in the building.
Mm-hmm.
What's the connection here with, if we've had COVID, we can't talk smart, right? Because obviously, are we not doing enough?
So all the COVID...
You didn't say if it was a patron or an employee.
It was an employee.
Okay.
And all cases so far have come from outside the library. We have not had spread within the library.
Okay.
Or brought to the library by library patrons.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
A good question.
Thank you.
And actually, we did a little study amongst the member libraries in our system, and libraries have had COVID in probably almost every library. But every single library director, you ask them, did it spread through the building? And the answer was no. But they all require masks, and they asked the patrons to wear masks. All of it came from outside.
Okay.
Patron 2, Thomas, he stopped volunteering to limit his exposure to COVID, age 64. He loves museum and math. His one stop is the library. And he did tell me at one point that he feels more comfortable, that masks are required. Patron 3, Henry, 85, checked out 4 books for his wife. So nice that it comes in to do that. He told me he doesn't like wearing masks, and he hopes they'll be gone next year, which I agree with him. But he said he wears 2 now, and he plans on wearing them again every flu season because he's seen how it helped. Now, I'm not trying to say that if I didn't start, quizzing people, there would be people who said, I don't want these anymore, right? I don't want to have to wear them.
Absolutely.
But what we have to do is look at basically this information that I provided and really think that right now it's still relevant. I don't want it to be relevant, but based on everything I provided.
What are you going to do when they lift it? Are you guys still going to have the mask mandate?
Well, so that's actually what I'm...
Because I feel like that's where you're going with this. I just feel like you're overly protective than you need to be. So I'm just curious if that's what your end goal is, or...
Yeah, this is the end goal. What I'm asking the board is that I don't like the lack of clarity from the state mandate. And so in November, I asked the board to put a separate mandate in place that would take over. And the board had asked if I activate it, which I did in February because I didn't like the clarity. And right now, I understand the state mandate is still in effect, but I would like the board's policy to continue to be in effect as well, because I would like to cite it that it's a board policy so that if people come in and say
whine, and they whine.
and present concerns about, the fact that they don't think the state mandate is valid. And I'm not going to weigh in on that at all. That's not my place here, that we have a library board policy in place. So.
But
How long is
technically, we don't have a state mandate right now. I don't think. I mean, wasn't Governor Evers going to just put it back in after the legislature?
Well, I think he did do something, and I don't know how long it's in effect for.
Because we do have one again, don't we? I mean, the governor put it back, or am I wrong about that?
Yeah, I think he did put it back, but it's of course being fought again. It's
Of course.
And
can't keep up. I mean, as soon as they said, that it was removing, he came back in right away.
That's what I thought, but I didn't know
If
when.
I'm remembering correctly.
So it basically
They gave him directions on how to bring it back into effect. I don't know how long it's in effect for. So if you want to follow the state, you should probably find out the timeline on it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, and certainly if the state is still in effect, it just adds more layers of support. My goal is to be able to say that it's a state mandate, but also a library board mandate. It just adds a little bit more oomph to the expectation. And then in the event that things happen rapidly, if the state mandate were to go away, we can continue to operate solely based on that. And I'm happy to keep speaking with you all about it at subsequent meetings, but I think...
Well, the other thing is if you don't want to do the state, you can see what Waukesha County is doing, and you can follow that.
So Waukesha County doesn't have a requirement at this time, and so it does fall to local decisions based on, if the state mandate were to go away, then it would fall to local decisions. And the library board has the ability to set policies, same as we can require people to wear, shirts and shoes, or we can require them to, not scream and swear at library staff. This is something that the library boards can do. And like I said, 13, right now, the libraries in the system are requiring masks based on the state mandate, but 13 of them have this separate mandate, like we currently have, to be a backup or reinforcement of the state mandate. So
I would like to see it follow Muskego. What is the city doing?
As far as I know, the city does not have a
Tracy Blair.
a city requirement because they do not have a public health department. So then they would have to defer to Waukesha County.
Right, I think that's what the mayor has said.
Yep.
Sure. So I think as long as we're on that line, I don't know if you're trying to add more to this to make it more protective, or is this pretty well protective the way it is, or what do you want to add?
So what I would like is for the library board to continue to pass and support a separate mask mandate or mask policy for the library. And like I said, we can do that. It doesn't have to be something that is a city of Muskego. It can be local to the library per the library board. And, we just, we're a unique building. We just have 300 people, from babies to people who are 85, 90 years old.
No.
Through.
I understand it. Did you want to add? You want to keep this, but do you want to add something to it?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a line that basically says, according to the CDC, masks are an effective barrier that reduces the transmission risk of COVID-19 through respiratory droplets. I just want to add, Jeff recommended, he said, when you have a requirement, you should have the reasoning. And so right now, it just says this is the expectation, but adding that line that says, because according to the CDC, it helps reduce the transmission of COVID-19. He just said to add that line just to make it clear why it exists.
I think we're learning in the city that we need to add reasoning for law purposes. But yeah, I don't see a problem with adding that line if everybody else is on board. I don't know what anybody else thinks.
You don't think number 3 states it already?
So this is this document. Nancy asked a question. This document is my background for the document, but the actual policy itself is just this.
Yeah.
So
I'm all for this. excuse my language, but I think this is a good CYA move. Because why should you take the brunt of any outbursts or complaints or anything? The board decided on this policy. So I'm all for it.
I'd like to add something that happened today. I came into the library to pick up my packet, and as I usually do, I kind of walk around, see what's going on, and talk to a couple people and say, how's it going? And asked a person, not Brittany, I want to make this very clear, about what we could do for them. And I was told to do what we could to, and I don't want to I'm putting words in somebody's mouth here, but to make sure that we continue with the mask mandate. They did not say strengthen it. There was nothing, like that. But I sensed and this is one employee, okay, so I can't say that this employee speaks for everybody. But I sensed a fear, almost a fear level. They're saying when people come in wearing their masks, I can't say many, I don't know how many, only you would know that, Brittany, come in without the mask not covering their nose, for an example. We're making an assumption that even people who are wearing their masks are wearing them correctly. And so we're always asking about morale and, these kinds of things. And I sense if we didn't support something like this, and I'm looking for a judgment call from your perspective, Brittany, how the staff would feel about that. I mean, it was kind of an eye-opening discussion that I had this afternoon. I just didn't really realize this, and my word, fear level about making sure that people are wearing their masks and wearing them correctly because of the close proximity issue.
May I just add that at St. Leonard's, up on the screens, we have please wear your mask, and please wear it properly. Be sure it covers your nose and tucks under your chin. So that could be added on the sign on the door that says you must wear a mask. Please wear it properly.
I don't think there's really a definition of wearing a mask and what type of mask. I mean, I just think that if you just put mask required, like you see everywhere, and people either wear them or they don't, and people are for it or they're not. I don't think we need to overthink this. We have something in place. If you want to add something to it, I think it'd probably be good.
But Rob, I can tell you, I think Muskego as a whole is not a big mask community like other communities are. But this employee said to me, all it takes is one sneeze. Okay.
Well, I understand that.
But
that's the fear factor
of
the CDC.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're fearful, wear a mask.
And I think, are we going to overthink this and overprotect this? And we're going to be the only place in Muskego that's going to have this overprotective agenda?
What about protective about it? And I'm just trying to advocate.
I'm just saying what's wrong with what we have and adding the one line that she's looking to add.
I'm not suggesting anything new. I'm just telling you what a staff member said to me, and that this is a concern for them as far as our support for it and that kind of thing.
Sure, but a lot of people hide their against with this because of the follow the sheep and the fear factor out there. Yeah. So, a lot of people won't speak up against things, and some people will only speak up in favor of things. So, I look at I've seen so many of these things and so many people packing meetings and for certain subjects, in my backyard and not my backyard type stuff. And I think everything's in place. I think we're spending a lot of time on something that we don't.
Well, I'm not giving you my political opinion, Rob. I'm just relaying to you what a staff member said to me.
No, that's fine. I understand that. But like I said.
Staff also.
Then the staff.
Like I said, I think a lot of people will speak in favor of things, but they won't speak against things.
Yep.
So that's something you have to keep in mind when you listen to this.
Yep.
Okay. So Tracy has
something.
And
like I said, I get around Muskego a lot, and I found Muskego as a whole is not a overwhelming follow the sheep, scared to death of fear of wearing or not wearing a mask. I mean, it's out there, and people do it, and people follow it, and people put masks on because everybody else is putting masks on. So there's a lot going on right now.
But if the staff is concerned about being susceptible to that mentality, that's the role I'm playing right at the moment. Whether I agree or disagree, I'm not making a political statement. I'm just relaying what I was told here. And it's one member and all that. And I think the board deserves to hear that perspective from staff. Okay? And I'm not saying this is a collective staff comment. I'm not saying that either.
So I understand. I'm not arguing or disagreeing with you. I'm just saying, I think we have everything in place and she's just looking to add one thing on. I think it'd be,
Now, do we need to add one thing and vote on it next month, or are we doing that here now?
Well, Tracy had a comment to add, so let's.
Well, I was just saying, because he's 100% right that I think at this point in time, people are very fearful of this disease, and they don't need to be, because it's at a point where we are all being vaccinated, we're having herd immunity, and if you are fearful of the virus, then wear a mask. But if the other person is healthy and doesn't want to wear a mask, we got to get to that point. And we just aren't. For some reason, I don't know if it's media related. I don't know if it's just personal related. I have no idea. But we are at a fearful thing, which I feel like people are never going to take off the mask, which is ridiculous.
Oh,
It's ridiculous because if I'm healthy, which I'm healthy right now, I don't need a mask on. And in initial when the World Health Organization came out, their stance was people that are healthy do not need to wear masks. If you are immunosuppressed or you're sick or you have a fear, then you wear a mask. And that all got sidelined when the CDC came into place and it all went awry. So I wish could go back to March of last year when normalcy, like when they were really thinking it through the right way and actually follow through on that. But we've gone off the deep end on it. We just have. And it's too bad because the percentage of people dying from this is almost less than the flu sometimes in certain places. But you would never know that according to our media. You would never know that. And in the end, they've even found that possibly in 2020, there was no increase in deaths. It's that we reallocated what the diagnoses were for those deaths, and everything's going to be the same. And now what are people going to say? Like, did we really have a pandemic?
Yeah,
So-
I think all I can do is speak to what, I listed the experts that I would look at, and that's my recommendation. So.
Well, and I think for right now, I mean, I totally am listening to all sides of it, and I agree very much on when is it going to start to be okay. But I think that right now, because we're still at that point of when is it going to be okay, it just makes sense to keep it going for right now until maybe we review it in a month again, or, depending on a couple months, depending on what's happening with the vaccines and all of that, so that
And with
we
the
can
state
start
as well.
the weeding off process.
No, let's just follow, we put this in place to follow what the state said, right?
Yep. And the state's doing it right now, and like we're saying, the villages are kind of doing their own thing. I know I work in Big Bend and at Muskego, and nobody's just,
Right.
at my work there are no, so if you are into wearing masks.
And nobody's dying there.
Did you
too, I
just
bet.
shut her down?
I did not. Camille, we can't hear you anymore. Camille?
You've been censored.
No, I'm trying not to. Camille, can you
Oh my
hear?
gosh, she's really getting animated up there.
Camille, can you hear
You're gonna have to
us?
start all over again.
Would you repeat that, Sue?
Oh my
Would you repeat
gosh.
that?
Camille, can you hear us talking?
I
'Cause
wonder if she must be having trouble on her end, maybe.
Um,
Well, Bob too. Bob's
Uh-oh.
talking and we can't hear him.
oh, wait a minute. Hold on a second. Did I freeze everyone?
Yeah, no, he's talking too.
Okay.
Barb was sleeping for a while.
Hold,
She was sound asleep.
It says my microphone's not working. Hold on. Please pause, no audio. Okay, hold on a second. Did that turn off? Is that the problem? Can you try pushing the power button on the, just hold it down for a little bit. Maybe it.
Okay, must be rebooting or something? There we go.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm
We're all
so
laughing
sorry.
at something.
We lost a portion of what Camille said and a portion of what Alderman Wolf
You
said.
guys are gonna have to start all over.
I think we're all on the same page. I think maybe I'm wrong, correct me, but we're just gonna add the, whatever Brittany wanted to add on there under references. and
Yeah.
keep it in place, following what the state's doing, right?
Yep.
So, all right. So what I'm asking is continued, basically, that we'll keep doing the state mandate, but if the state mandate ends, this would go into place, and then I would follow up with you guys at the next meeting. Is that what I'm hearing?
Right, so we need a motion to put this through, but yeah, if
Oh,
Just
no.
doing it again?
Go on.
Yep. Okay. Hold on a second. Just gonna have to. Well, I wanted to get rid of the.
I wouldn't second that.
All right, I'll make a motion to add the line that Brittany referred to in regards to the CDC guidelines.
All right, so Camille, motion for
And to
approval?
continue the mask mandate
Yes, and to continue the mask mandate.
and see guideline. line.
Yes.
So we'll just have another review if something changes, Brittany can bring that up if something changes within the state.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be next month, it might be for 90 days from now, I don't know.
Yeah. So I will put that motion through with all that correct wording.
You need a second.
Is there a second on this?
Nobody's saying.
I'll second it.
All right, Gail seconds that. Thank you. Brittany, you getting all this okay?
Yep. First Camille, second Gail. Add the wording. Follow the state board's policy still in play. It would go into effect.
And review if they change it.
Review
if they change it, about the only other thing you need.
Yep.
All right. Any further discussion, or did we hammer that
We've
out?
worn that one out, yeah.
All right. Hearing none, all those in favor of approving this, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
I'm abstaining.
You'll abstain, okay.
Yep.
That's great. I'm always waiting for an abstention. No one does that.
You got one.
So there are no opposed, is that correct? Okay. Anyone else abstaining?
Wake Barbara up again.
I'll probably abstain too.
Okay.
I'm sort of torn on this though.
Sure. So we have none opposed. We have 2 abstentions, Tracy and Barb. And the rest are in agreement. Okay. Brittany, you got all this?
I've written all that down.
All right. Thanks for your patience, guys. Just making sure we have everything down on our end here. All right. Very good. Last item under new business this evening, discussion, possible action regarding the 2021 library director goals approval. So at this point, I will read a notice of closed session, and then we will take a vote to go into closed session. All right. The Library Board of the City of Muskego will meet at approximately 5 p.m. or as soon thereafter as time permits on February 16th, 2021 in the Library Conference Room, Muskego Public Library, S73W16663, Janesville Road, Muskego, Wisconsin. Following conclusion of consideration of the above portion of its regularly scheduled agenda, to vote on a motion to convene in closed session at said time and place for discussion and or action relative to the 2021 library director goals. The library board will hold the closed session in the library conference room at the library. A closed session for the above purpose is authorized pursuant to the provisions of Wisconsin statutes, section 19.85, 1C, which authorizes a governmental body, upon motion duly made and carried, to meet in closed session to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. Upon conclusion of the closed session, the library board will convene an open session to consider its public agenda, including motions to recommend approval or rejection of the above listed deliberations or any of the public agenda items that have not been acted upon. So at this point, I will entertain a motion to enter closed session.
Okay, I will move that the library board go into closed session pursuant to the provisions of Wisconsin statute section 19.85 sub 1 sub C, which authorizes a governmental body upon motion duly made and carried to meet in closed session to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee.
Thank you. Is this shut off yet?
Yeah, I think it's running out of batteries. That's the problem.
Should I try rebooting it again?
You know what? I kind of want to just be done with it. I know it's helpful, but
Do you have the ability to chat everybody in the meeting?
where did it
Just to
go?
let them know what's going on?
Sorry, speaker lost charge. 1 minute. So. Can you slide that disc to me? I guess it's not ideal, but.
You could probably talk now.
Okay, can everyone hear us again?
I can hear you.
I'm sorry, I had to plug in the
Yes.
speaker to my laptop. All right, so we were, Gail, you were doing your closed session. You were making the motion to go into closed session. That was,
Correct. Using verbatim the paragraph in the agenda.
We're at all in favor, need to say aye.
Camille seconded, I
Oh.
believe.
Yes.
Camille seconded? Okay. Thank you, we didn't get that yet.
sorry, everyone. Okay, I'm pulling up the document now because it wasn't in the agenda packet. So
We don't need closed session yet, are we?
Oh,
We need to vote.
Oh, I'm
We need to
sorry.
have approval.
Got distracted.
All those in favor,
Yeah,
the
all those in
president has
favor,
asked.
all those in favor of going into closed session, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we will now enter closed session, and let's record the time as being 6:23 p.m.
Okay, we are in open session.
All
Yeah,
right,
Gail's up at the ceiling
I
now.
don't. Oh, there.
Oh, there she is.
all right. So we have now entered open session again. Please note the time. We entered open session at 6:48 p.m. And while in closed session, there was no action taken. So carrying on with our agenda in open session, communications and miscellaneous business is authorized by law. I have nothing. Brittany, anything to add under that heading?
Just a funny quirk. I had a bad dream about the board the other night. I had a dream that you took the previous library director, and she told me that I had to build an entire new library for you all. And I was really mad that you guys made me take on that project and that you had my predecessor tell me that. So
It's not a dream, that's a nightmare.
it was a nightmare. No, I did not want that. So I just thought you guys would find it humorous. So.
All right. That's funny.
It's not good if you're
Is
dreaming about
therapy
this
a
place all
cost
the
the
time.
board it's responsible for?
Need some wellness days.
I know.
You need to get some new dreams.
That's what Tracy just said. I need new dreams. Yeah, I agree.
All right.
When's your next vacation?
I don't know.
Well, we'll have
It's
to
not in
figure that
her
out.
goals.
not in my
Vacationing is not in her goals.
All right. So at this point, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment, please.
So moved.
Move to adjourn.
All right. Gail, will you settle on seconding that? Tracy motioned here.
Certainly, I'll second.
All right. You guys will come to some sort of consensus here? without any fighting?
I can second if she's buying for it, I'll
So
second it.
Tracy motions, Gail seconds.
No, I second, I have no problem with that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Bye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? We are adjourned at 6:51. Thank you, everybody. Great meeting.
Bye. Stay warm.
Yep, stay warm, everybody. Take care. Thanks a lot.